The Young and the Restless. YNR, spoilers hint that Billy Abbott's, Jason Thompson, rushed marriage proposal could be next. Will Billy try to pressure Sally into another big step following her decision to move in with him? In YNR's September 3rd episode, Sally was a bit reluctant to take this move-in leap with Billy. It took some convincing on Billy's part since Sally's been a heartbreak victim in the past and doesn't want to get hurt again. It's clear that Sally's been careful about getting too invested when this could all end in disaster. However, Billy apparently thinks they're destiny, so he's been predicting a long-lasting future together. This could be a real turning point in their relationship as far as Billy's concerned, but will it end up being a positive one or a negative one? Billy is an impulsive guy who tends to make bold moves, so he may not be satisfied with just cohabitating. Since Billy mentioned this being a turning point, he could decide it feels right and that he's ready to lock in that future he was talking about. Billy might rush a marriage proposal next and put pressure on Sally to accept. This could turn into another situation where Sally is hesitant, but Billy might say all the right things as he tries to convince her this is the right call. Billy may deliver a grand gesture and plenty of promises about how he won't let Sally down. Unfortunately, disappointment is practically Billy's middle name. You can bet that Billy will indeed disappoint Sally sooner or later, so his long-term romantic plans could come crashing down. Billy seems awfully certain that Sally's the woman for him, so it may not be long until he buys an engagement ring and takes a page out of Kyle Abbott's, Michael Mealer, rushed proposal playbook. Even if Billy can get Sally to accept and put a ring on her finger, that doesn't mean he's really marriage material. Any engagement news that might be looming may not lead to wedding bells if everything blows up in the end. The Young and the Restless spoilers hint that Billy and Sally's relationship could be doomed, so stay tuned for updates on how they might fall apart. The hallowed halls of Genoa City are buzzing with more than just corporate intrigue and family drama this week. They are thrumming with the unexpected beats of rekindled passion and the explosive fallout of betrayed trust. In a stunning turn of events that proves even the mighty can be humbled by love, Nikki Newman is set to pull off a masterstroke of romance, leaving her formidable husband, Victor, utterly surprised and disarmed. Meanwhile, the fragile peace within the Newman clan is shattered as Claire Grace, still navigating her new place in the world, reaches her breaking point with the manipulative Audra Charles, leading to a confrontation that will have seismic repercussions. Get ready for a week of breathtaking twists, tender moments, and the kind of high-stakes emotional warfare that only the Young and the Restless can deliver. A rose amongst thorns, Nikki's grand romantic gesture. Victor Newman is a man who commands empires and dictates destinies. His entire life has been a testament to power, control, and strategic domination. Surprises are not something he often encounters, and certainly not ones that soften his legendary steely gaze. But this week, the one person who has ever truly known how to reach the man behind the myth is about to remind everyone why she is his greatest weakness and his ultimate strength. Nikki has watched her husband weather countless storms. Recently, the battles have been more relentless than ever. Corporate coups, familial betrayals, and the constant, grinding pressure of maintaining the Newman legacy. She sees the weight on his shoulders, the subtle fatigue behind his eyes that he would never admit to. While others see the invincible Victor Newman, Nikki sees her husband, a man who gives everything and asks for nothing in return. Instead of offering words of encouragement or simply standing by his side, which she always does, Nikki decides to speak a language Victor rarely lets himself hear. The language of unabashed, devoted romance. In a move that will stun viewers and Victor alike, Nikki orchestrates an elaborate and deeply personal surprise. Spoilers indicate that Nikki arranges a private, candlelit dinner not in the opulent dining room of the ranch, but in the very spot where Victor once proposed to her, a place loaded with decades of history, love, and resilience. She personally handles every detail, from his favorite meal to the music that scored their most cherished memories. This isn't a party or a public display. It is an intimate, purposeful declaration. When Victor arrives, expecting perhaps another business-related meeting or a quiet night in, he is completely blindsided. The sight of Nikki, illuminated by candlelight, in the place that symbolizes their enduring commitment, cuts through all his defenses. For a moment, the master of the universe is speechless. This gesture is Nikki's way of saying, before you are a CEO, a patriarch, or a titan, you are my husband. And tonight, we are just us. The emotional impact is profound. Victor, a man not given to public displays of vulnerability, will be visibly moved. This surprise is a powerful reminder of their foundation. In a world that constantly demands he be the aggressor, Nikki provides a sanctuary where he can simply be. This romantic interlude is more than just a sweet moment. It's a crucial recalibration for the couple, fortifying their bond before the next inevitable storm hits. It's a testament to Nikki's wisdom. She knows that the heart of the Newman Empire isn't in its boardrooms, but in the love that has sustained it for over 40 years. A tea kettle boils over Claire's explosive confrontation with Audra. While the Newman Ranch is awash in romantic light, a different kind of fire is igniting elsewhere. Claire Grace, after her traumatic introduction to the family and her hard-won acceptance, is trying desperately to build a normal, stable life. She is clinging to the kindness of her grandparents, Victoria and Cole, and tentatively building bridges with a family that once saw her as a monster. Her vulnerability is still close to the surface, a fact that the cunning Audra Charles sees not as a reason for compassion, but as an opportunity. Audra, ever the opportunist, has never fully accepted Claire's integration into the Newman fold. Seeing her as a threat to her own influence and position, particularly with Kyle Abbott, Audra has been subtly and not so subtly undermining Claire at every turn. She drops carefully barbed comments in conversation, questions her motivations to others, and consistently tries to paint her as unstable and unreliable. This week, Audra goes too far. In a calculated move, she corners Claire, likely at the Genoa City Athletic Club or Society, and delivers a masterclass in manipulation. She might bring up Claire's past, her involvement with Jordan, or slyly suggest that the Newmans are merely pitying her and that she'll never truly be one of them. Audra's words are designed to hit every insecurity, to poke at every healing wound. For weeks, Claire has bitten her tongue. She's taken the high road, wanting to prove she's changed and not give anyone a reason to doubt her. But everyone has a breaking point, and Audra expertly pushes Claire directly to hers. The dam breaks. Claire, with all the pent-up frustration, fear, and anger of a lifetime of being manipulated, finally loses her cool. The Young and the Restless, Y&R, spoilers hint that there could be an LA murder cover-up, so will Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, and Audra Charles's Zuleika Silver. Real secret be revealed? She unleashes a torrent of fury on Audra that leaves the usually unflappable schemer stunned. Claire won't just yell. She will articulate every single one of Audra's manipulations with stunning clarity. She'll expose her game for anyone within earshot to hear, calling her out for her jealousy, her pathetic need to climb the social ladder by tearing others down, and her transparent attempts to control Kyle. This isn't about me, Audra. It's about you, Claire might seethe. You see a family and you see pawns. You see love and you see a weakness to exploit. I may have a past I regret, but at least I'm trying to be better. You're just proud of being you. This outburst is a defining moment for Claire. It's the moment she stops being a passive victim of her circumstances and actively fights for her place. However, such a public and explosive loss of control comes with a cost. While some may secretly cheer her on, others will see it as a regression, proof that the old Claire is still lurking beneath the surface. This confrontation will undoubtedly draw battle lines, forcing Victoria, Cole, and especially Kyle to choose a side. The ripple effect: Kyle, Victoria, and the Newman aftermath. Claire's blow-up with Audra doesn't happen in a vacuum. The fallout will be immediate and messy, with Kyle Abbott stuck directly in the crossfire. Kyle, who has been entangled with Audra in a relationship based more on ambition and convenience than love, is finally forced to see her for who she truly is. Witnessing her cruel provocation of his cousin, or, depending on the family tree he acknowledges, his aunt, will be a wake-up call. His relationship with Audra, already on shaky ground, will likely fracture beyond repair as he is faced with the undeniable ugliness of her actions. This could be the catalyst that pushes Kyle back toward his family. Seeing Claire, someone who is genuinely trying to heal, be attacked so viciously may stir a protective instinct and a sense of guilt for his own past behavior. It could also bring him closer to his mother, Victoria, who will be fiercely protective of her daughter. Victoria and Cole will be livid. After nearly losing Claire forever, they are in full Mama and Papa Bear mode. Audra's attack will be seen as an attack on the entire family, and Victoria Newman does not take such insults lightly. Expect Victoria to leverage every ounce of her power to make Audra's professional life in Genoa City a living nightmare. This corporate war, fueled by maternal rage, will add a thrilling new layer to the power struggles at Newman Enterprises and Jabot. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, the effects of Nikki's romantic evening will be felt for days. A softened, rejuvenated Victor is a different kind of force. His strategic mind, unclouded by the weight of the world, might be exactly what the family needs to face its next challenge. His renewed bond with Nikki makes them an even more impregnable unit, a fact that should terrify their enemies. A week of transformations. This week on The Young and the Restless, characters are transformed by fire and by love. Nikki reminds us that true power lies in the courage to be vulnerable with the one you love, proving that even the strongest man in the world can be felled by a heartfelt gesture from his wife. Her surprise is a beautiful anchor in the turbulent Newman Sea. Conversely, Claire's fire is not one of passion but of pure, unadulterated catharsis. By finally losing her cool, she finds her voice. She sheds the last vestiges of her victimhood and stands up for herself. Consequences be damned. It's a messy, imperfect, but necessary step in her journey toward truly belonging. These parallel storylines showcase the brilliant duality of soaps, the quiet, powerful intimacy of a decades-long marriage, and the raw, explosive energy of a young woman fighting for her future. As Nikki and Victor solidify their fortress, Claire storms the gates of her own past, and Genoa City will never be the same for it. Don't miss a moment of the drama, the romance, and the explosions to come. It's clear that something shady went down during Audra and Holden's time together in Los Angeles. Claire Newman, Haley Aaron, suspects it was illegal and is hoping to use whatever damaging intel Holden can offer against Audra, but the problem is that info could put him in a tight spot, too. Holden was clearly just as deep in whatever happened as Audra was, since he's been dropping hints about past mistakes. Of course, Y&R fans know the version of the story that Audra gave Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic. Audra spilled that Holden rescued her from some sleazy music executives, but what exactly did that rescue entail? It's possible that Holden went as far as killing someone who tried to force himself on Audra. Although Holden may have been protecting Audra from a terrible situation, he might have resorted to more drastic measures than necessary to get rid of the threat. If Holden and Audra covered up a fatal outcome, the past could come back to haunt them. Claire's digging could open up a can of worms that creates just as much trouble for Holden as Audra in the end. Y&R viewers will recall some of the comments Audra made about Holden living on the edge and scaring her when they were romantically involved. There's obviously another side of Holden that fans aren't privy to just yet. What did Holden do to scare Audra? Did Holden lose it over Audra nearly getting violated and freak her out by killing one or more of those execs? Audra and Holden might have covered up a murder together depending on how all that went down. It'll be interesting to see what kind of secrets come to the surface now that Claire's determined to get updates on the LA truth. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Claire could find out some shocking news involving both Holden and Audra, so stay tuned to see what she does next. The genteel facade of Genoa City is about to be shattered by a blast from the past so explosive it could topple empires, destroy marriages, and send some of our most prominent citizens straight to prison. For months, we've watched the calculated alliance between the formidable Audra Charles and the mysterious, wealthy Holden Boudreaux. We believe their secret was a torrid, behind-the-scenes affair, a betrayal of Tucker McCall, and a power play for control of Glissade. But, dear readers, we were wrong. So terribly wrong. The truth is darker, deeper, and drenched in the blood of a night in Los Angeles that they thought was buried forever. This isn't about corporate espionage. It's about a murder cover-up. The pieces have been subtly falling into place for the astute observer. The intense, almost frantic energy between Audra and Holden wasn't sexual tension. It was the panic of co-conspirators whose carefully constructed world is showing hairline fractures. Their whispered conversations in secluded corners of the Genoa City Club weren't planning a takeover. They were coordinating a story, ensuring their alibis remained airtight as the walls began to close in. It all traces back to a seemingly unrelated incident. A high society party in the Hollywood Hills over a year ago, a party both Audra and Holden attended while they were both working in Los Angeles. The official story was a tragic accident. A young, up-and-coming music producer named Mateo Ruiz, known for his fiery temper and connections to some shady characters, fell from a balcony after having too much to drink. The LAPD, overwhelmed and perhaps eager to close a case involving difficult, wealthy socialites, ruled it an accident. But one person never believed it: Mateo's younger sister, Elena Dawson. Yes, our Elena Dawson. This is the missing piece that connects Genoa City to that tragic LA night. Elena, who was studying abroad at the time, was told the sanitized version of her brother's death. Grief-stricken, she accepted it, until recently. Going through her brother's old effects, she discovered a damaged smartphone, its data partially corrupted but not entirely lost. The recovered fragments include voicemails from an angry Holden Boudreau threatening Mateo over a bad investment, and text messages from Mateo to a friend mentioning that he was going to confront Audra at the party about the money she stole. Here's what we now believe truly happened that night. Holden and Audra were already in a clandestine business partnership, scamming investors in a Ponzi scheme disguised as a luxury real estate venture. Mateo Ruiz, charismatic and well-connected, was their star recruiter, bringing in his wealthy friends from the music industry. But Mateo got greedy. He discovered the fraud and decided to blackmail them, demanding a massive payout or he'd go to the SEC and the press. At the fateful party, a confrontation erupted. A heated argument between Mateo, Audra, and Holden spilled out onto a secluded balcony. Threats were exchanged. Evidence suggests a physical altercation ensued. Whether it was a push, a shove in self-defense, or a tragic stumble during the struggle, Mateo Ruiz went over the railing. In that moment of sheer terror, Audra and Holden made a choice. They chose self-preservation. They wiped down the glass Mateo had been drinking from, planted it in his hand to suggest intoxication, and used their considerable influence and wealth to ensure the investigation was swift and superficial. They created the accident narrative and have been living by it ever since. Their reunion in Genoa City was no coincidence. Holden didn't just show up for Audra. He came because he knew Tucker McCall was vulnerable and his company was the perfect vehicle to launder their ill-gotten gains and rebuild their fortune far from the prying eyes of LA. Their affair is a smokescreen, a convenient story to explain their intense, secretive meetings. The real secret they are guarding is far more sinister. Spoilers ahead. The walls close in. In the coming weeks, the carefully built dam of lies will begin to crack. Here's what to expect. Elena's quest for truth. Driven by a sister's love and a nagging suspicion, Elena will become a dogged investigator. She will use her medical expertise and her connections in Genoa City to start asking questions everyone else has forgotten. She'll confide in Nate, unknowingly pulling him into a dangerous game he isn't prepared for. Her journey will be heartbreaking and perilous as she gets closer to a truth she may wish she'd never uncovered. A fractured alliance. The pressure will strain the bond between Audra and Holden to its breaking point. Holden, the cooler and more calculated of the two, will advocate for doubling down on their silence, even if it means using more extreme measures. Audra, however, has more to lose in Genoa City. She's built a life, a reputation, and has genuine, if complicated, feelings for Tucker. We'll see her unravel, making nervous mistakes and potentially looking for a way out that doesn't involve life in prison. Their partnership will turn into a game of cat and mouse, with each suspecting the other of being the weak link. Tucker's suspicion. Tucker McCall is many things: a manipulator, a schemer, a flawed man, but he is not a fool. He'll sense that Audra's secret is bigger than a simple affair. His own narcissism will be wounded, not just by the betrayal, but by the idea that he's being used for a purpose he doesn't understand. He will launch his own investigation, using his vast resources and network of private eyes. When he discovers the truth, his reaction won't be heartbreak. It will be a calculated decision on how to use this information for maximum personal gain. Will he protect Audra to control her, or will he expose her to destroy her? The wild card, Ashley Abbott. Ashley, in one of her volatile states, will inadvertently stumble upon a key piece of evidence, perhaps an old bank transfer from Holden to an LA detective, or a cryptic email on Tucker's computer. Unstable and seeking vengeance against Tucker, she may leak the information in a way that causes chaos for everyone, accelerating the inevitable confrontation. A shock return. The investigation will prompt the return of a figure from Audra's LA past, a former friend or lover who knows more than they let on. This person will arrive in Genoa City with their own agenda, either to help Audra silence the past for a price, or to finally see justice served for Mateo. The fallout. Who will survive? The revelation of this murder cover-up will send seismic shocks through every corner of Genoa City. For Audra, this is an existential threat. Everything she has worked for, her power, her position, her hard-won respect, will evaporate overnight. She will face the ultimate choice: run and spend her life looking over her shoulder, or stay and fight with every weapon she has, likely destroying everyone around her in the process. Her relationship with Tucker will be obliterated, but will he be the one to hand her the knife? For Holden, he represents a new kind of villain for Genoa City, charming, ruthless, and without the familial ties that often stay the hands of characters like Victor Newman. He will fight dirty, using blackmail, financial ruin, and even physical threats to protect his secret. He has no allegiance to this city or its people, making him uniquely dangerous. For Elena, discovering the truth will destroy her. The grief she thought she had processed will return, amplified by rage and a desire for vengeance. It will test her relationship with Nate and force her to decide what she is willing to do to get justice for her brother. Will she become as ruthless as those she seeks to destroy? For Genoa City at large, the scandal will engulf Newman Media and Jabot, as their connections to Audra and Tucker are scrutinized. Victoria Newman's rivalry with Audra will take on a terrifying new dimension. Victor Newman, the master of covering up scandals, will be watching closely, perhaps even seeing a reflection of his younger self in Holden's ruthless ambition. He may decide to help bury the truth to protect the city's stability, or he may decide to eliminate a dangerous rival. The real secret of Holden and Audra is a testament to the fact that in the world of the young and the restless, the most dangerous secrets aren't about who you're sleeping with, they're about what you're hiding from the law. The ghost of Mateo Ruiz is coming to Genoa City, and his arrival will prove that no secret, no matter how well buried, stays dead forever. The young and the restless. Y&R. Spoilers reveal that heartbroken Noah Newman Lucas Adams could fall into Audra Charles's Zuleika Silver next trap. Will Noah come home single and vulnerable to his manipulative ex? Y&R fans will recall that Noah had an intense yet toxic romance with Audra once upon a time. Noah eventually moved on with a far sweeter Aline Gwyn, Kelsey Wong, but their relationship could be headed for trouble, too. Characters fell from a balcony after having too much to drink. The LAPD, overwhelmed and perhaps eager to close a case involving difficult, wealthy socialites, ruled it an accident. But one person never believed it: Mateo's younger sister, Elena Dawson. Yes, our Elena Dawson. This is the missing piece that connects Genoa City to that tragic LA night. Elena, who was studying abroad at the time, was told the sanitized version of her brother's death. Grief-stricken, she accepted it until recently. Going through her brother's old effects, she discovered a damaged smartphone, its data partially corrupted but not entirely lost. The recovered fragments include voicemails from an angry Holden Boudreau threatening Mateo over a bad investment, and text messages from Mateo to a friend mentioning that he was going to confront Audra at the party about the money she stole. The opulent silence of the Chancellor Mansion was a stark contrast to the cacophony raging within Noah Newman's heart. He stood in the grand foyer, a single leather duffel bag at his feet, looking more like a ghost than a man. The familiar scent of polished wood and fresh flowers, usually so comforting, now felt alien and suffocating. He was home, and he had never felt more alone. His return to Genoa City was supposed to be a triumphant one. He had left with Tessa Porter's love as his shield and his music as his compass, ready to build a life worthy of the incredible woman who had waited for him through so much. Instead, he had returned with that shield shattered and his compass spinning wildly, pointing toward a void of confusion and betrayal. The European tour, a dream opportunity, had curdled into a nightmare of distance and miscommunication. The late-night calls with Tessa had become shorter, strained by time zones and exhaustion, filled with conversations that skimmed the surface of their lives but never dove into the deepening chasm between them. And then there was Audra Charles. Audra had been a constant, dazzling presence on the tour. As a high-powered executive for the record label, she was everywhere, backstage at the concerts, at the industry parties, in the luxury hotels. Where Tessa's voice on the phone was increasingly laced with the stresses of her own rising career and the loneliness of his absence, Audra was physically there. She was all sharp, understanding smiles, insightful compliments about his music, and a seemingly boundless energy that matched the whirlwind tour life. She masterfully positioned herself as his confidant. Tessa's a strong woman, Noah, but this life, it's not for everyone. She'd purr over a glass of expensive whiskey, her eyes full of a sympathy that felt like a balm. She has her own path in Genoa City. You have yours out here, conquering the world. It's a tragedy when two paths that were once parallel suddenly diverge, don't you think? Noah, vulnerable and missing the easy intimacy he once shared with Tessa, began to confide in Audra. He shared his fears that he and Tessa were growing apart, his anxieties about the future. Audra listened, her head tilted in perfect empathy, each nod reinforcing his doubts. She wasn't overtly seductive. That would have been too crude, too obvious for a strategist of her caliber. Her seduction was far more insidious. It was a seduction of the ego and the spirit. She made him feel understood in a way he no longer felt with Tessa. She made his ambitions seem grand and noble, while subtly framing Tessa's life back home as small and separate. The final night in Paris was the trap, sprung with elegant precision. After a triumphant final show, at a party buzzing with adrenaline and champagne, Audra found him. "Let's get out of here," she suggested, her hand lightly on his arm. "Let's have one real conversation away from all this noise." It felt like a relief. In the quiet intimacy of a dimly lit bar overlooking the Seine, she dismantled the last of his defenses. She spoke of his incredible talent, his potential, painting a picture of a future so bright it threatened to eclipse everything in his past. "You're a star, Noah Newman. Stars aren't meant to be tethered. They burn brightest on their own." And then, with a tenderness that felt like a culmination of weeks of emotional intimacy, she leaned in and kissed him. It was wrong. He knew it the moment it happened. The kiss tasted not of passion, but of ash and regret. It was the physical manifestation of every doubt Audra had planted, and it felt nothing like the honest, soul-deep connection he shared with Tessa. He pulled away, a cold dread washing over him. Audra simply smiled, a faint, knowing curve of her lips. The trap had closed. She didn't need to possess him. She only needed to create the rupture. Mission accomplished. The transatlantic call to Tessa the next day was the most agonizing moment of his life. He confessed everything, his voice choked with shame. Tessa's silence on the other end was more devastating than any scream. When she finally spoke, her voice was hollow, fractured into a million pieces. "I knew something was wrong. I felt you slipping away. I just never thought. Goodbye, Noah." And just like that, the future he had envisioned evaporated. Now, standing in the foyer, the weight of his colossal mistake pressed down on him, making it hard to breathe. He was single. He was vulnerable. And he was utterly heartbroken. His mother, Victoria Newman, descended the staircase, her face a mask of concern that quickly morphed into maternal alarm when she saw the utter desolation on her son's face. "Noah? Honey, what is it? What's wrong? The dam broke. The whole story tumbled out in a raw, disjointed confession. The distance, the doubts, Audra's calculated manipulation, the kiss, and the devastating end of his relationship with Tessa. He wasn't trying to excuse his actions. He was simply too broken to hide them. Victoria listened, her expression shifting from sympathy to sharp anger, though not at her son. She knew a corporate predator when she heard one. Audra Charles. She spat the name like a curse. She saw something good and pure, and she couldn't stand it.
She targeted you, Noah.
This is what she does. She identifies a weakness and exploits it for her own gain. But her words, though true, were little comfort. The why didn't matter. The result was the same. Tessa was gone. The news trickled through the Genoa city grapevine with typical, ruthless efficiency. In society, Carl Abbott raised an eyebrow, filing the information away for potential use. At the Grand Phoenix, Abby heard and felt a profound sadness for both her friends. At the jazz club, Tessa threw herself into her music, her performances now laced with a new, heartbreaking depth of pain. For Noah, the days blurred into a monochrome haze of regret. He wandered the familiar rooms of the mansion, a specter haunting his own life. He avoided the rooftop at the athletic club where he and Tessa had shared so many dreams. He couldn't listen to music. Every song was theirs. His vulnerability was a palpable thing, a raw, open wound that everyone could see. And in her sleek, modern office at Jabot, Audra Charles received the updates with a satisfied smirk. She scrolled through a social media post of a heartbroken Tessa performing a sad new song and felt a thrill of victory. She hadn't wanted Noah Newman. She had wanted the chaos his breakup would cause. She had wanted to prove that no relationship, especially one belonging to a Newman, was unbreakable. She had driven a wedge into the family's foundation, and a vulnerable. The Young and the Restless, YNR, spoilers for Friday, September 5th, reveal that Lily Winters, Crystal Khalil, will want Kane Ashby's, Billy Flynn, confession while Victor Newman, Eric Braden, has a vengeful Newman meeting. First, Victor will get ready for the escalating Newman-Abbott feud. Since Victor is still holding a grudge against Jack Abbott, Peter Bergman, he's determined to make his rival pay dearly with a major attack on Jabot. Of course, Victor will know that Jack's going to retaliate, so he'll have to be prepared for that, too. We'll see Victor make some strategy updates and fill the Newmans in on what he expects of them moving forward. Nick Newman, Joshua Morrow, and Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, will be the main Newmans involved here, though it's possible Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinley, could have her own role to play eventually. Victor will still be counting on using Kane's AI software and forcing him into a partnership, but will Kane really cave in? Regardless, Kane's focus will be on Lily in Friday's YNR episode. Lily will push Kane to make a confession, so she may sense that Victor's trying to pressure her ex and want to know more. Lily might even get news on Kane's meeting with Michael Baldwin, Christian LeBlanc, and seek answers about that, too. If Lily realizes Kane needs a fixer, she may be like Michael and wonder what exactly Kane needs to fix. Whatever the case, Lily apparently won't buy that Kane's done with all the corporate drama. Kane claims he wants to concentrate on repairing the damage with his kids, but Lily will have a hunch he's still got big plans and even bigger fires to put out. As for Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, overconfidence will be a problem in Friday's YNR episode. Phyllis's arrogance could be her own downfall, so she may run her mouth and put her spot on Kane's team in jeopardy. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Phyllis will have to undo any destruction she's about to cause, so stick with the CBS soap. Emotionally shattered Noah Newman was now a potential weak point, a pawn she could potentially manipulate again in the future. His heartbreak was her strategic advantage. Alone in his room, Noah stared at the ceiling, the silence screaming in his ears. He had fallen for the oldest trick in the book, mistaking flattery for understanding and manipulation for connection. He had lost the love of his life not to a grand tragedy, but to a clever, calculated trap laid by a woman who saw his heart not as something to cherish, but as a weapon to be wielded. He was home. He was single. He was vulnerable. And in the viper's nest of Genoa City, a heartbroken Newman heir was the most dangerous game of all. The question now was not how he had fallen, but what he would become now that he had hit the ground. Would he remain a vulnerable pawn, or would this exquisite pain forge him into something, and someone stronger? The world, and Audra Charles, was watching. Get ready for a Friday episode of The Young and the Restless that promises to be an absolute powder keg, with multiple fuses lit and burning fast towards an inevitable explosion. September 5th is not a day for the faint of heart in Genoa City. As the week draws to a close, long-simmering tensions boil over. Secrets are weaponized, and two of the town's most formidable forces, Phyllis Summers and Victor Newman, are set on collision courses that will reshape the landscape for everyone in their orbit. This is an hour where words are sharper than knives, and a single meeting can alter the course of countless lives. Phyllis's painful truths and lies. All eyes will be on the volatile and vulnerable Phyllis, whose fragile grip on her newfound stability is about to be shattered. Fresh off her confrontation with Danny and Christine, a maelstrom of jealousy, regret, and raw hurt is swirling within her. Phyllis has never been one to process her emotions quietly, and today, that characteristic will be on full, destructive display. Her primary target? Christine Blair. Unable to accept the solidity of Danny's choice, Phyllis will hunt down Christine, likely at the GCAC or Chancellor Park, and unleash a torrent of verbal venom. This won't be a simple, catty argument. This will be Phyllis at her most brutally honest and manipulatively dishonest, all at once. She will drag up every ancient history sin she can attribute to Christine, from her courtroom tactics to perceived personal betrayals from decades past. She'll accuse her of stealing Danny's life, of being a safe and boring choice, and of never truly understanding the passionate man he is. But beneath the fury is a devastating pain that Phyllis will also weaponize. She'll reveal intimate, painful details about her recent struggles, her mental health crisis, her feelings of isolation, her desperate desire for a second chance, not to garner sympathy, but to make Christine feel like a villain for kicking her while she's down. She'll paint a picture where Christine's happiness is built on the rubble of Phyllis's life. Her mouth runs like a faucet with a broken handle, flooding the room with every toxic thought in her head. The aftermath will leave Christine shaken and Danny more resolved than ever to protect his future from the hurricane that is his past. Victor's corporate ambush. While Phyllis unleashes emotional chaos, Victor Newman is preparing to execute a cold, calculated strike in the corporate arena. His meeting with Michael Baldwin, scheduled for the hallowed grounds of the Newman Enterprises office, is not a discussion. It is a declaration of war, a vengeful summons meant to send an unmistakable message to his son, Adam. Victor has pieced together Adam and Michael's clandestine maneuvering. He knows they circumvented his authority, likely using legal technicalities and back-channel deals to secure Sally's position and undermine his own strategic plans for Augustus Neon. To Victor, this isn't just business. It's the deepest form of betrayal. It's Adam reverting to type, and he will not let it stand. The meeting will be a masterclass in Victor's particular brand of psychological intimidation. He won't yell. He won't bluster. He will sit behind his desk, the city sprawling beneath him, and speak in a low, chillingly calm tone. He will detail every step of Adam and Michael's plan to Michael himself, leaving no doubt that he holds all the cards. This is vengeance served not hot, but ice cold. He will accuse Michael of a profound breach of ethics and professional loyalty. The threats will be veiled but crystal clear. Michael's hard-won career, his standing with the Bar Association, and the well-being of his family are all on the table. Victor will make it undeniably clear that Michael's choice is simple: fall in line with the Victor Newman doctrine or face utter professional annihilation. This meeting is the first domino to fall, and Victor is already planning for the chain reaction that will ultimately crash down upon Adam's head. Adam's anxiety and Sally's suspicion. Across town, Adam Newman will feel a distinct chill in the air, the primal sense that a predator is on the hunt. He'll be waiting for a report from Michael, his anxiety mounting with every passing minute of silence. He knew the risks of going behind his father's back, but the intoxicating success of securing Sally's company made it feel worth it. Now, the bill is coming due, and Adam is terrified of the price. He will seek solace and strategy with the one person who understands both his ambition and his fragility, Sally Spectra. But Sally is no fool. She's been riding a high. The Young and the Restless, YNR, recap for Thursday, September 4th, reveals that Claire Newman, Haley Aaron, will seek illegal dirt on Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, while Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, pitches the idea of Michael Baldwin, Christian LeBlanc, being his fixer. On Kane's train, he'll meet with Michael and wonder if his retirement was more about getting out from under Victor Newman's, Eric Braden boot. Michael will question Kane about the reason for this meeting, so Kane will come clean about needing a fixer to help him. Since Michael knows how to do things off the grid and isn't afraid to get his hands dirty, Kane will want to make him a loyal member of his team. Michael will be wary and nearly walk out of this meeting until Kane texts him the starting salary. That'll keep Michael's attention, but he'll wonder if a crime has occurred considering Kane's willing to pay that kind of money. Michael will want to know what exactly he'd be fixing, but Kane won't divulge that until attorney-client privilege is in full effect. Although Michael won't commit to taking the job, Kane will point out that he isn't saying no either. All Kane will ask is for Michael to consider his generous offer, which is just the start. At Society, Audra will realize Claire's had a few drinks, so she'll take some jabs about that and assume Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, using the same old Vesper shtick he uses with all his women. Claire will call Audra a bitch more than once during this conversation, but Audra will keep at it and will play up her moonlight encounter with Kyle Abbott, Michael Mueller. After Claire taunts Audra about her failed career and losing Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, Audra will lunge at her. It'll be Holden who grabs Audra and stops this from becoming a physical confrontation. Audra will also mention Claire's poisoner past and suggest that at least she's not pathological like Claire is. Claire will get in Audra's face and basically warn that she might indeed be dangerous if Audra doesn't back off. Afterward, Holden will take Claire for coffee at Crimson Lights, so she can sober up. Holden won't blame Claire for giving as good as she got with Audra, but Claire will want a way to get the upper hand. Claire will push Holden to reveal what happened with Audra in LA since she'll assume it involved something illegal. Holden will be reluctant to open up about his shady past, but Claire will act like it makes him more interesting. At the ranch on Thursday's YNR episode, Nikki Newman, Melody Thomas Scott, will surprise Victor with a romantic night full of reminders from their past. Victor will reminisce with Nikki and give her updates on his knowledge of Colin Atkinson's, Tristan Rogers' final swindle, which he'll hint about Kane being complicit in. If that son of a bitch doesn't do what Victor wants, Victor will insist Kane's reputation is going to get even worse. Victor will eventually share a dance with Nikki as they celebrate their love, so plenty of sweet moments are coming up for these two. The Young and the Restless spoilers say Victor will make some power plays soon, so stay tuned for more news on his plans. But a nagging suspicion has begun to grow in the back of her mind. The deal was almost too smooth. The way Adam evaded certain questions, the lack of direct involvement from Victor, it felt off. She will confront Adam, not with anger, but with a weary concern. Adam, how did you really pull this off? What did you have to do? She'll press him for details he can't comfortably provide. Sally knows the Newman family playbook all too well. There are no clean victories. Adam will try to reassure her, to dismiss her fears as paranoia, but his own nervous energy will betray him. This conversation will plant a seed of doubt in Sally's mind about the foundation of her triumphant fresh start, a foundation she fears might be built on quicksand. Nikki Newman will be watching her husband closely, and what she sees will worry her deeply. She knows the look in Victor's eyes, the cold, distant focus that means he's identified a threat and is mobilizing his forces for a total takedown. She's lived this story too many times, and it almost always ends with her family fractured and everyone she loves in immense pain. She will attempt to intervene, to be the voice of reason. Victor, whatever Adam has done, must we always respond with total war? Can we try to talk to him? For the family's sake. But her pleas will fall on deaf ears. Victor will see this not as a family matter, but as a challenge to his authority, and in his world, such challenges must be met with overwhelming force. Nikki will be left feeling powerless, watching the man she loved prepare to destroy the son she has tried so hard to welcome back into the fold, fearing the collateral damage will be everyone's happiness. A glimmer of hope. Daniel and Heather. In the midst of all this darkness, a single subplot offers a glimmer of mature. The air in Genoa City is thick with desperation, ambition, and the distinct scent of shady deals. On this Thursday, September 4th, the characters found themselves at moral crossroads, with some choosing the low road with startling determination. At the center of the storm were two unlikely fixers, one a corporate novice learning to play dirty, the other a seasoned legal veteran being tempted back into the gray areas he knows all too well. Claire's crash course in corporate espionage. The action picked up at the sleek, modern offices of Newman Locke, where Claire Grace was receiving a brutal, albeit unofficial, education in the cutthroat world of high-stakes business. Still wide-eyed but rapidly hardening, Claire sat with Kyle Abbott, who was meticulously outlining his grand vision for the new media division. He spoke of integrity, innovation, and building a legacy that would make his father proud. But Claire's mind was elsewhere, still reeling from the direct order issued by her aunt, Victoria Newman. Seeking clarity, or perhaps absolution, Clary cornered Victoria in her corner office. "You asked me to dig up dirt on Audra Charles," Claire began, her voice a mixture of unease and resolve. "But what kind of dirt? And how, exactly, am I supposed to find it?" Victoria, cool as a cucumber, leaned back in her leather chair, a faint, predatory smile on her lips. She didn't need to raise her voice. Her quiet intensity was far more intimidating. "The kind of dirt that ensures she can never be a threat to this company again," Victoria stated, her words measured. "The kind that doesn't appear on a standard HR background check. We need leverage, Claire. Information is currency, and we need to bankrupt her." When Claire protested, suggesting this felt not just unethical but potentially illegal, Victoria's demeanor shifted from mentor to mob boss. "This is how the game is played at this level," she said, her eyes narrowing. "If you want a seat at this table, if you want to be a true Newman, you need to prove you have the stomach for it. Are you in this family, or are you just visiting?" The gauntlet had been thrown. The choice was stark: remain the grateful, obedient niece or transform into a ruthless corporate warrior later. We saw Claire, a look of steely determination replacing her usual warmth, hunched over a laptop in a dimly lit corner of the Society of Illumination. She wasn't browsing fashion sites. She was deep in the dark web, her fingers flying across the keyboard as she contacted a shadowy figure known only by a pseudonym. The dialogue was tense, cryptic, and involved the transfer of cryptocurrency. Claire Grace, the woman who once longed for family above all else, was now actively seeking to illegally hack into the private emails and financial records of Audra Charles. The transformation was chilling to witness. Across town, a different kind of shady proposition was unfolding at the Grand Phoenix Bar. Michael Baldwin, enjoying a rare moment of peace with a neat bourbon, was startled by the arrival of a ghost from his past, Kane Ashby. The two men exchanged strained pleasantries, the history between them, filled with betrayals, legal battles, and Kane's own checkered past, hanging heavily in the air. It quickly became apparent that Kane wasn't there for a social call. He was desperate. "I need your help, Michael," Kane said, his voice low and urgent. "And not the kind with legal briefs and court filings. I need the other kind of help, the kind you're famous for." Michael stiffened, immediately on guard. The fixer side of his persona was one he had worked for years to bury beneath his respectable, lawyerly exterior. "Whatever you've gotten yourself into, Kane, I'm not that guy anymore. I have a wife, a daughter, a reputation." But Kane was persistent. He laid out his predicament with Jill Abbott. He'd made a catastrophic error in judgment, a desperate gamble with company funds that had blown up in his face, and now his mother was ready to not only fire him but potentially press charges. It wasn't just his job on the line. It was his freedom and his family's future. "She won't listen to reason," Kane pleaded. "But she'll listen to you. You can talk anyone off a ledge. You can find angles no one else sees. You can fix this. Please, Michael. I have nowhere else to turn." Michael was visibly conflicted. Lauren would kill him if he got involved in another one of Kane's messes. The ethical lines were bright red and clear as day. Yet, he saw the raw panic in Kane's eyes, a man about to lose everything. Michael Baldwin, the reformed schemer, has always had a soft spot for a lost cause. He didn't agree, but he didn't say no either. He told Kane he'd think about it, a promise that filled him with palpable dread. Nate's calculated gambit. While Claire was learning to break the law and Michael was being tempted to circumvent it, Nate Hastings was playing a much more sophisticated and legal game of chess. He arranged a private meeting with Audra Charles, and the chemistry between them was as electric as ever, though now channeled into pure strategy. Nate, ever the brilliant tactician, laid out his read of the situation with stunning accuracy. Victoria is making her move, he told Audra. She's consolidating power, pushing Kyle forward as a puppet, and she sees you as the biggest threat to her control. She will come for you. Audra, never one to show fear, acknowledged the truth of his words with a nod. So, what's your play, Doctor? You didn't call me here just to state the obvious. Nate's play was bold. He believes the only way to survive the coming Newman Civil War is to form a powerful alliance. His proposal, the two of them, along with Kyle, should present a united front. A trio she can't ignore or easily dismantle, he reasoned. We have the talent, the vision, and the leverage. Together, we are indispensable. Divided, Victoria will pick us off one by one. He tasked Audra with feeling out Kyle, seeing if the ambitious Abbott heir is truly content being Victoria's pawn or if he still harbors dreams of building his own empire. It was a dangerous game, pitting the new generation of leaders against the established Newman Queen Bee. But as Nate and Audra locked eyes, they understood the high stakes. This wasn't just about keeping their jobs. It was about seizing control of the entire board. A glimmer of hope for Sharon. Amid all the corporate backstabbing, a single story thread offered a glimpse of heartfelt emotion. Sharon Collins sat with Nick Newman, her confidant for decades, and updated him on her health. The news was cautiously optimistic. Her latest scan results were promising, a beacon of hope in her frightening battle with cancer. Nick, ever her rock, held her hand and offered his unwavering support. But the conversation soon turned to the mysterious project that has given Sharon a renewed sense of purpose, the cure for Eve Howard. She confessed her fears that the political and bureaucratic red tape at the hospital, primarily embodied by Dr. Alan Loron, would stall the treatment until it was too late for the young girl. Seeing her determination, Nick made a characteristically impulsive Newman offer. "Forget the hospital," he said. "If you need a facility, resources, anything, come to Newman Enterprises. We'll fund it. We'll build you a lab. Whatever you need." It was a generous offer, one that could save a life and fulfill Sharon's mission. But it also posed a new dilemma. Does she accept help from the powerful Newman Empire, with all its attached strings, or does she continue to fight her battle within the established, if flawed, system? For Sharon, the choice is between efficiency and integrity, a battle just as complex as any corporate takeover. As Thursday drew to a close, the stage was set for a weekend of turmoil. Claire was diving headfirst into the darkness, potentially compromising her soul for a name. Michael was wrestling with his, tempted to use his old skills for a questionable cause. And in the executive suites, a rebellion was quietly brewing, promising a war that would shake Newmanlock to its very foundation. In Genoa City, the only thing more dangerous than an enemy is an ally with a secret agenda. The Young and the Restless, YNR. Spoilers suggest more shocking casting news for the CBS soap, as Former Days of Our Lives, DOOL, alum Lucas Adams x Trip Johnson, is set to join the show as the Noah Newman recast. The last time fans saw Sharon Newman, Sharon Case, and Nick Newman's Joshua Morrow, son, was from 2021 to 2023, when actor Rory Gibson, who just recently debuted as General Hospital's GH Michael Corinthos recast, was in the role. Noah took off to Europe with girlfriend Ali Abingwin, Kelsey Wong, and while they have not been seen in Genoa City since, they have been mentioned multiple times within scenes. Prior to Gibson's Noah run, actor Robert Adamson was in the role from 2012 to 2018 and 2020, and before that, Luke Kleintank played the character from 2010 to 2011. A fun fact, This isn't the first time Adams has appeared in the YNR. His first stint was in 2012, a one-episode run playing Wesley, a fan of singer Angelina Veneziano, Diana DeGarmo. The news of Adams' jump to GC is the third stunning casting announcement in just over a week for the CBS soap. In an unexpected plot twist, Lucas's former DOL mom, Tamara Braun des Exava Vitali, is set to join the YNR sometime in September. Braun will be playing a new character, Sienna Bell, someone who is linked to several other characters on Canvas. In addition, daytime drama vet Roger Howarth is debuting on the show in the fall, although, as of this writing, his role remains hush-hush. Adams will feel a sense of familiarity not only with Braun on set, but also with former DOL player Billy Flynn, ex-Chad DiMera, who also just joined the YNR this past spring as Kane Ashby recast. The Young and the Restless spoilers remind fans that Noah is a pivotal legacy role, and his return will have a major impact on storylines. With that said, will Allie come back to the little town as well, or is this an opportunity for Audra Charles, Zuleika Silver, to rekindle a romance with her ex?